Welcome to Authentic Space Podcast with Kasha and Co, who live their lives unapologetically.
You good?
Hold on, water.
Yeah, I have gin tonic.
Love it.
I have gin tonic right with me. After all, it is the evening for me. It's the
It's
morning
5 o'clock somewhere.
afternoon. Exactly. And this is what I always tell Ben, like, okay, I think it's time for a cocktail. And he just looks at his watch. And I'm like, don't you look at your watch. It's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world. So yeah. So I'm having this drink, and I'm kind of thinking about the last month and a half. I thought summer would be a bit slower, but it hasn't been. It's been
Yeah, this is an interesting summer. It just, between the weather and the busyness of it, it does have a different feeling to it than like prior years, I feel.
yeah. It's like the weather. Well, in Belgium, the weather has been surprisingly nice. My husband is complaining about having to water the garden every day because there's not enough rain, which is like the last thing you would hear about Belgium
About
normally,
Belgium, yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it feels like it's like I feel it's summer. It's warm, the sun is shining, everything is green outside, it's beautiful, but I am so exhausted. I am so exhausted. I am overwhelmed. I am overworked. And I am not sleeping properly. And this is just having an impact on, I think, on everything.
On your whole life, on your
Yeah.
body. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny because here in this podcast, we always talk about our own experiences and how we've been through a lot of changes, a lot of developments. But then it's not like it makes me understand that just because you went through it once and you overcome it and you've overcome it, yes, you overcome it, it doesn't mean that you're not going to go through it again. Um Other times and other periods in your life. And I am actually now putting in practice my own preaching because I have an understanding that I am at the point where I'm extremely satisfied and happy with what I'm doing. I'm at a professional point in my career where I know I'm going in the right direction. As I was telling you, we are starting to hire, and it makes me so happy because
It's really taking off in a good direction, right? And
yeah, yeah. And if I think about, I will always go back to that, the same scene, the milestone of talking about my future with you in that bar in New York. And I think about it back now, look at where I am right now, right?
yes,
But
absolutely.
yeah, but just the fact that I am here right now and that business is going well, knock on wood, and that I'm happy with what I'm doing. I am really, really happy with what I'm doing. I'm still struggling. And I think that admitting it to yourself is the first thing, the first step. And
And it's also the hardest part, right?
mm,
Because we also live in a society where, if you have a good job and you're being successful, and then maybe, you have a partner or family or a nice house, or you just live comfortably, right? And so the society would pretty much, would say, oh, you're successful, right?
there
So,
you go. You've made
um,
it.
but what is success really? And we also, I feel like the word success and just kind of the societal expectation of, oh, you have this, you have that, if they say you're successful, then there's, it's almost like there's no room for me to say, yes, but I still need to improve in certain things, right? I'm still being challenged here, or I'm still struggling here. It's almost like you're either successful or you're not, right? And there's nothing in between.
Yeah.
Life is always about balancing the two. I mean, we all know this. We all hear stories of the richest people on earth, and they're not being happy in their personal life, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
But that's the issue. That's exactly the issue. And
yes,
the issue is the fact that, you know, I come from a family and I come from a childhood where there were a lot of expectations, a lot was expected of me, and I was, I mean, I can't complain about my childhood. Like, I have good parents. I had everything that I needed. I
again,
cannot
I
say
mean,
anything about that.
again, on the outside, it felt like it was a beautiful childhood, right? And everything
Yeah.
was awesome, and you had two parents, and you were healthy, and you looked like a happy kid, right? So, um,
Yeah. But there's more.
yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it, right?
There's more to the story, and I'm realizing this as I talk about this sitting in my comfortable house surrounded by things I love and technology and a fridge full. Well, actually, my fridge is broken. So, but okay, let's say a freezer full. A fridge broke down. We've been without a fridge for like for like 1 month. Literally, I'm not even joking. And I bought this like little camp fridge of like 40 liters or something. So it means it's like really tiny. You can just have milk and like some sauces inside and like some butter and whatnot, and
One
then
egg.
that's it. Yeah, exactly. And so actually my fridge is not full, my fridge is empty, but you know what I
And
mean.
broken.
Unbroken. The freezer works, so I got all this stuff now in the freezer. No, but just to, jokes aside, I live a comfortable life. There is enough money on my bank account. If there is an emergency, I feel like we are going to be fine and we're going to be okay. And I mean, we're going to be okay financially, but I also know myself and my skills. And I have talked about this in other podcasts, in other episodes, where it's like, I have a knowing inside of me that everything will be okay. That even if I lose a job today, there's something coming to me because that's just the way it is. I just know it. The knowing, as you always call it.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I am, I don't know, I'm again in a little, I entrapped myself a bit. I'm honest with myself. I don't like it because I am pouring from a cup that is, yeah, it's pretty empty right now. And unfortunately, this is impacting the way I am with the people around me that I love. I think it has an impact on it because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If the cup is
yeah,
empty, I've got nothing to give. And so, just to conclude the thought, the last month has been a lot of soul searching because it's always easy to tell other people, not what to do, but to give advice to other people. I'm a huge listener, and I like giving advice to people and help people, but at the same time it's time to help myself. As I said at the beginning of this very long rambling that included gin tonics and broken fridges, um that I am exhausted. I am absolutely shattered. Happy, but shattered. So
it's so interesting to
go
actually
ahead.
have feel kind of such opposite emotions, right, all at once.
It's I think it comes a bit with experience with these things. I feel that, as we always say, we are always a work in progress, and we always, try to become the best versions of ourselves. And I think this is what keeps us on the spot, or keeps us observant of and receptive of changes and emotions and things. And it's just, I don't know, like this beautiful quote that I saw the other day, which was, like something like, the sometimes all you need to do when it's raining is just to let it rain.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just have to go through the emotion, live with it, sit with it. And it's for every emotion, I think, for every feeling. It can be fear, it can be despair, it can be melancholy, it can be, sometimes you have to go through it.
I think you always have to go through it.
Yeah.
It's you have to feel it to actually heal it, right? I mean, it's even, I
Yeah.
think that's even a saying. It's literally, because if you don't feel what you're going through, whether it's, if you feel that something is funny, are you going to keep a straight face because you're not going to laugh about this thing that makes you want to crack up? Like, you need to experience it. So it doesn't matter if it's a happy feeling or if it's a sad feeling. You have to let it out. You have to express it, right? And
Yeah.
and the worst part is with, especially the harder or more challenging feelings, or tougher feelings, we tend to suppress them, and then instead of
Mm.
instead of actually feeling them and allowing them to come up, we suppress them, and they pretty much stay in our bodies. When they do stay in our bodies, they sooner or later turn into illnesses, diseases, what have you. So they do have to come up, and we have to let them come up, and we have to just see what they're trying to tell us.
Why are we brought up with this thing where, the positive needs to be lived through, but the negative needs to be swept under the carpet? Like, why are we brought up like this? why
Right.
can't we why can't we normalize it? It's not a fight with opposites and polarity. It's a matter of, neutralizing it uh by by recognizing it, that it's normal to go through bad and good at the same time. I think I was watching a video of an artist yesterday on Instagram, and she was talking about how her anxiety attacks are actually taking over, and panic attacks are actually taking over her life. Where she had a couple of instances where she was just driving, and she was experiencing a panic attack that it was so, bad, that she thought she was having a heart attack, and she had to call an ambulance and stuff. And she was talking about the fact that unless you stop and, recognize that anxiety can be part of a normal life, and that you kind of like normalize it and make it as a, okay, you rationalize it almost. Okay, I'm having this moment. Why am I having this moment? Because I feel XYZ. Why do I feel XYZ? And just kind of like this process of making it as normal as, you know boiling water or something.
Hmm.
It actually takes away the power from it to a
Absolutely.
certain extent. And I thought that was very, very interesting. I thought it was beautiful. But so yeah, this is kind of like where I'm at right now, where i I'm stepping back and I'm looking at everything that I'm doing, and I'm telling myself, you need to slow down. You need to take your time. You need to be in charge of, I don't know, in charge of your actions, in charge of your time. You need to be in charge of your time, which has been a bit of a struggle lately. But I'm at a bit of a, I sat with it, and I just told myself, I just cannot go on like this. I will have a breakdown. And again, notice how funny this is, how it's like I'm doing something I love every single day. I like every single thing that I'm doing every single day. Yet, I'm on the brink of a breakdown. That's fascinating.
It's something deeper than that too. Like, again, everything that you mentioned that is satisfying in your life, it's very external, right? Life is not, we keep on living a life that's external, that's outside of us. We think that, oh, this job is going to bring me that fulfillment, that happiness, this, this person, those people in my life, being in the city or in nature. Nature actually does, so scratch that. But in general, like, we feel that it's always something outside of us, right? If I have the money, then I'll get better this, or I'll, food, what have you. There's a whole world within us that we are constantly forgetting and not paying attention to.
Mm.
And and we always feel like, even when we look at spirituality, sometimes, yes, meditation is great, and being in nature is great, and all that stuff, and they're all kind of external things, but there's something deeper than that. And kind of going back to the emotions and feelings that you mentioned earlier, like, we need to feel it, because every emotion is telling us a story, it's telling us something, right? And
Mm. Mm.
so we need to feel it in. And this whole thing, like, of society, just the expectations, and what does success look like based on, watching all these Hollywood movies, right? And we are all chasing that something external and outside of us, right? And we're trying to make that life better, but it's really, what we are a soul. The soul lives inside, it doesn't live outside. And
Mm.
the soul, intuition, everyone kind of has a different name for it, but the feeling of knowing, right? We are part of something really deeper. And again, feelings and feeling in an emotion, whether it's a sad one or a happy one, kind of brings us back to, when we let it come up and we actually step into it, that's when the dialogue with our soul begins. It's not outside.
Well, because you let yourself being vulnerable as well. So it's almost like, but it's almost like you are looking inside and you're trying to have a conversation with yourself. Sorry, scratch that. You have the courage of having a conversation with yourself, because not everyone is capable of doing that. Not everyone is capable to sit with their own emotions, bad or good that they are, and just start that discussion and that conversation you're talking about. I
A lot
think
of us are running away from it, right? But that's really running
exactly.
away from your own self, your true nature, and your true, like, your, I mean, from your heart, really.
It's a full part of experiencing life. You cannot experience life just with your externality. Like, it's half the experience, you know?
Yeah.
When you walk into a situation, or you find yourself in a situation and you have that kind of intuition or that knowing that something doesn't feel right. It's just, it's
And that's what's true to you, right? So
yeah.
I feel we also, like, are trying to, have a certain experience, and it's constantly about looking of, like, resonance, right? Someone needs to understand me. No one needs to understand
Mm.
you. It's your own truth. It doesn't mean it's wrong, or it's good or wrong or bad. It means it's true to you, it's valid
Yeah,
to you.
but that's very hard. That's
It's
very hard for people.
because that's what the society wants us to really, the society expects us to be a certain way, and all these labels,
Mm.
and it's the upbringing of, of us, like, it's obviously something that's detaching from our own inner knowing and guidance, right?
The thing that you say about the resonance, and it's always like we're always trying to find someone that understands us and understands how we're feeling. It's, I think, related to the fact that we always want to feel that we are not the odd one out, and that we belong to a community and to a system of values and beliefs that are commonly understood. So that oh, you really understand me, it means like, oh yeah, you share the same feeling, or we're talking the same language, you're understanding what I'm going through, etc. But that's not exactly necessary, because I think, I think it's the constant want to be part of a community and not to feel like we are weird or something like that for feeling
Yeah,
feeling the feelings
the
or
feeling
something.
of belonging, right? The feeling of identity and not being, yeah, being pretty much excluded out of a community.
Yeah.
But I do want to say excluded out of a community or maybe out of even family, right? Like if
Yes.
you're not acting according to the way the same values and morals as your whole family is, right? You might feel excluded, right? But
Yes.
we forget that we we have a choice to find the people, the right community. It doesn't have to be what we were brought up in, right?
Absolutely.
There are people like that out there. So you can actually find your own community, and then a community where you respect each other's individualities, each other's authenticities. And it's not, I feel like in a community like that, it's not so much about the resonance, but about it's about mutual respect. My respect for what you're feeling right now, I'm here for you
Mm.
and it's valid, even though I don't necessarily have to feel the same thing.
Ditto. Ditto. Absolutely. It's having that kind of open mindedness to know that we all go through different experiences and that we feel and experience different experiences in different ways. A lot of us experience it more externally than internally. A lot of us internalize it a lot more, but it's just there's still both ways of knowing the world and experiencing the world. They're still valid. It's fine. But I will add that internalizing it does make a difference when you experience the world.
Oh, absolutely.
As you said, it's I think that your intuition and that knowing that you have inside of you is something that really is truth. It's your truth. It's your guide. It's your direction. And this is why, when I talk to friends that look for external solutions to their problems, I always say the same thing. The answer is within you. I can give you all the advice in the world and I can tell you what I would do, but you know, I can give you good advice. I can listen to you, but in the end, the only person that is in charge of that is you and you only. It's
Yeah, we can offer guidance and some sort of support, right? But we cannot tell others what to do, right? So, or
no.
how to go about it, right?
No, the instructions are different for everyone.
For everyone, yes.
And I was actually having a session with my psychologist yesterday, after a long time, because she just went through some personal things that she needed to take care of, and so she decided to take a hiatus, like a bit of a pause in between sessions. So like last time I talked to her was like November, which
Hmm.
is a long time.
That's a while, yeah.
That's a while. I mean, to be very honest, like I'm lucky to have a couple of psychologists in my life that help me. Two specifically. Anyway, but no, but just
You are a lucky
just to
girl.
I am very lucky and I thank the Lord every day. But but yeah, so and I mean for the listeners, I mean Kasha, okay, fine, we all know
I'm
she.
one of them. If anyone is interested.
Anyone is doubting, like just to be clear, and the other one is actually my husband. But anyway, so but just it's always nice, to have people like you guys in my life, of course, but it's also nice to have people that don't know me, so
Yeah.
that have kind of like an outside perspective, people that don't love me and that, not they don't love me, not because they don't love me because of whatever, but because they're, strangers. And so we were having this conversation about some family things that I am processing and this kind of hero complex that I have,
Hmm.
savior complex that I have,
Yep.
where it's kind of like it's not like I my way is the best way. It's just that sometimes, because I have done so much development and psychological work on myself, I tend to put myself on a kind of like outside of a situation and say, not even I wouldn't call it a pedestal, but like a higher ground, because I wouldn't call it a pedestal,
Yeah.
because doing like putting myself on a pedestal means that I think that I'm better than other people, but
Or
I know
above
I
them.
am not. Exactly. Maybe on like one little step above, just, and not because I'm better than other people, but because I've
I kind of see it more as like a bit more maybe conscious of it. Um,
yes, exactly. Exactly.
versus because when you're conscious, it's just
Awareness.
you're more aware of certain things and you approach it from different perspectives and different sides. It,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean the conscious people are always better or worse. It's just we're actually taking the time to look at it, to feel what's coming up, why is it happening,
Yeah.
what's happening, right? You're analyzing, you're trying to actually make something out of it, as opposed to I feel like kind of there's a lot of that in my family where it's just something is coming up and then let's just brush it under the carpet and just kind of like it
Exactly.
never happened, right? I think you and I, we have more of that approach to like, well, I do want to actually take a look at what's happening and really
Yeah.
evolve from it.
I think it's because it's not putting myself on a pedestal or a higher ground, even a higher ground that has a negative connotation. I think it's more like, because I went through stuff, and because I have done it in a specific way, and because I am tuned in fully with my intuition, there are some invisible threads in situations that I see and perceive better to someone that hasn't gone through the same type of development. That's how it is. Like, I kind of see some patterns, and I kind of see some.
It's still going back to you're a lot more aware of it
Yes.
because your parents probably have gone through more than you have, but it's
Yes,
what do you learn from it, how do you approach every
but a
experience,
superficial level.
right? Exactly.
They have gone through it at a superficial level. They have gone through it at an external level rather than an internal level,
Yes.
which means that to a certain extent, you're not um it's almost kind of like you went through the world and world experiences at an external level, but you don't internalize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I when I was mentioning the thing of going through the world and experiencing the world with your like outside senses, but also with your inside senses, with your external and internal. So being able to do both actually does give you, like, it just makes you more aware of things, right? And so
Yeah, because if you think about it, there's senses that are external, right? That come with our body, our physical body, which is pretty much a vehicle that allows us to live on this planet. And
yes.
then there's the internal world and senses, such as intuition,
Yeah.
your
The
heart,
knowing,
the knowing,
your heart,
the
exactly.
feeling, the hearing, or what have you, So kind of recognizing you don't know where from or how, that's a completely different world, right? So
Exactly. And so, just going back to my session with a psychologist, it was very interesting because we were kind of talking, we weren't talking about it, like, we weren't calling it the savior complex, but that's exactly what I diagnosed myself to have, which is it's almost like I don't want people to go through the pain of certain experiences. And so, because I don't want them to go through this pain, I try to save them without understanding that it's not my place, it's not my decision,
it's not your journey.
it's not my journey, and that they have to go through that pain to come out of it on the other side.
I mean, it's hard to watch. I completely understand you. But it's hard to watch your loved ones
Mm.
go through something where you literally have an answer for it, for what they're going through.
Exactly.
but it is not our job, it is not our space to do so.
Also, this is the development of this session that I had with her yesterday. You are removing the possibility of developing and evolving for them. You are actually taking away something from them. So it's almost like, if you visually think about it, the way I do it is that I put myself in front of someone as a shield, while instead I should be on their side holding their hand.
Yeah.
Because then, you have, I'm having some specific concerns about someone in my family, and I have voiced these concerns, and but that's all I can do. I can't. I mean, I can say, like, I hope that you're doing the right thing, but be careful if you do this, this, and that. But I can't just tell them or make decisions for them and tell them, like, I'm sorry, this is the wrong thing. You shouldn't be doing it because you're going to suffer. First of all, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe
Who am
that's
I?
exactly what they need.
Exactly. And that's, second of all, maybe that's exactly what is in their journey. That's exactly what they have to go through it to get to a better point. Or maybe I am just wrong because I'm human. I make mistakes, and my intuition is not like the perfect radar. And I mean, it's just,
And it's going back to your intuition knows your truths. That doesn't mean that what worked, even something that worked for you and on the
yes,
outside, even though that person is doing something completely the opposite, it might truly work for them.
yes,
That's their intuition, that's their truth. Now, I still feel, people could ask for help, and, that's when, there's a chance to step in and truly assist or guide or what have you. But I also say, like, if people are just, you know, in the midst of their experience, um, yeah, like, be a supporter, holding their hand, but until
yeah.
they truly ask you to maybe be part of it or kind of help in a bit more, then it's really on them to actually go through their experience.
This is the hard part of it, though, because I feel that there are certain situations and that I am noticing in this specific part of my life where, as I said at the beginning, my cup is empty, and that I know that I have a little left and I need to use that for myself, and I cannot, unfortunately, pour it on someone else because it's just there's not enough. The problem with this is that sometimes people ask for help, and but they don't actually want your help. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That happens a lot, but I think that's where we need to be discerning, right? It's also just
Mm,
because someone asks for our help, that doesn't mean we always have to give it.
mm,
Being
good point.
conscious, being a bit maybe more aware than someone else who's asking for that help, we have to. And sometimes asking for help, that doesn't mean, okay, let me go and do it, let me tell them exactly what to do, but
Mm,
it's more of, let me guide them so they feel like they're making a decision. You're just showing them different options or guiding them maybe towards the best approach, because again, you don't want to give them what works for you. You want them to find their way. You're just helping them find their way and their truth.
in this moment of my life, I have reached the apex. I've reached the. I just can't. I can't. Um, there's just so much going on, and I. The only thing I need is being in a remote place with no phone, no computer, no contact with the world. I just need to be, you know,
So it
um
sounds like you overextended yourself.
yeah, but this is one of my worst and best.
Qualities.
Yes. it's my best quality and my worst. What's the opposite of quality? Google. Wait, let me Google it. I need to Google this. Opposite. Uh, no one can ever say that we're not authentic on this podcast. Opposite of
Antonym of quality.
quality. Okay, guys, just hold on a second. Quality.
Ask
Google is not helping.
ChatGPT.
Ask Chad. um, is it a flaw? There you go. That's a flaw. So being overextending myself and being such a good listener, it's my quality, my best quality, and my worst flaw because it just takes over.
Yeah.
Just there's just someone drinking out of that cup, and that cup does not fill itself by itself. So
But again, there's the internal world and the external world. And a lot of the times a lot of people say, and even in the spiritual communities, new age communities, it's like it's all about the internal and all that stuff. But we cannot forget that we live in this physical materialistic life as well. So we have to, I think life is about balancing the two
yeah.
opposites in every single regard.
Yes.
In what you eat and how you act and how you behave, like
Everything really.
right. And we also cannot just be happy, always go happy and everything is beautiful and flying rainbows, because there's negative emotions too, and they're very much part of our existence and of our being, and we need to feel those too. We cannot keep on being so afraid of it. We're all going to be fine, we're all going to be well, but we have to embrace the two to truly be on your path and feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to close the circle that we started at the beginning, meaning that your life will not be complete unless you go through the good and through the bad and sit with whichever emotion that stems from both. Because if you don't, you are not experiencing life at its fullest. You're not experiencing a true existence.
And you're not getting to know yourself, your soul.
Stay tuned for more and join our community at AuthenticSpacePodcast.com and on Instagram at AuthenticSpacePodcast.